All right, you guys, it is me, Donovan Saadiq, the recovering Democrat, but I'm going to sit here and talk to you guys as Donovan Saadiq. Glad to have you guys with us on this Saturday. It is May 10th, 2025. Yes, yesterday was my birthday. Double nickel. I am 55 years old. I have made it. I am just, happy because, as we all know, when we're younger, we think, man, that guy's 30 years old. That guy's an old man, 30, and then it's 40. You think these ages 60 is like so far off.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like that, I'm 5 years from 60, and it's just like, where did the time go? So I'm very happy, and I thank everybody for the birthday wishes, and I really appreciate it. So let's get into it. You guys are probably wondering, who is this stunning lady that is next to me in the feed? And I'm going to try this. So please forgive me if I mess this up. This is Miss Anita Olo Olu
Hola, Jumoke.
Jumoke.
Hola,
Hola
Jumoke.
Jumoke Howard. And she is a good friend of mine, and we go back a few years. And very outgoing young lady, a teacher by
Yes.
profession. She's a teacher. She's very educated. Of course, she has her degree. She's a teacher and all like that. And the reason why I requested her to come on the show is the fact of the matter is she wrote a book. And I was so impressed by this book because I am a big investor in eBay, and I'm a big buyer on eBay. I get a lot of my stuff on eBay. A lot of people, they do the Amazon thing, which is great if that's what you want to do, but I don't want to pay those fees and all that stupid stuff that goes on there. That's why I love eBay. And she wrote a book called Before You Open That eBay Store, What TikTok Didn't Tell You. And I thought that was a very interesting thing. And I was very happy and surprised that she wrote this book because, being a mother, a teacher, you have, two daughters, and I know your life is very, very busy. So my number one question before I welcome you on is going to be, how did you find the time to do all of this stuff plus write a book? So you guys, please welcome Miss Ola
Hola. Hola.
Ola
Yeah, hola, just like
Ola
Jumoke.
Jumoke.
Okay.
And tell us a little bit about how you got that name as well. So again, like that. So you
Okay,
guys,
yeah.
welcome her to the show, and we're gonna have a great conversation. So how have you been? How have you been?
I've been well. Thank you for having me. I've been great. How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Hey, how you feeling about the birthday and things?
Yeah, I mean, it's a. If I get taken out tomorrow, I've lived a long, and everything that I dreamed about as a child, I did. I have no regrets, no anything. So for me, it's been great to be here. That at this so far, I still got a long way to go.
Hey, you're gonna be here for a long time.
God willing, God willing. So,
Okay, fair
but
enough.
no, but this ain't about me. This is about
Okay.
you. So tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from originally, where you're at currently, and where
Mhm. Okay, so well, my name is Anita. Um, my Nigerian name that was recently given to me in August is Olajumoke. I'm originally from Gary, Indiana. From Gary, Indiana, I spent the majority of my
home of the
youth.
Jacksons.
Yeah, home of the Jacksons. Yeah, Michael Jackson and all of them. My high school was actually on the next block from their house. Michael Jackson actually attended. So, if you guys remember the story where they did the talent show in the high school, and that's how it all started, that was my high school that happened in. And then, so once I turned 18, I decided to move to Atlanta, Georgia. I spent like 10, 11 years in Atlanta, Georgia. And then from Atlanta, I moved to, and I'm currently in Phoenix, Arizona. So I have been in Phoenix since late 2008, beginning 2009.
And being in Phoenix, how do you like it compared to, you're from the north. Gary, Indiana gets cold. It's near Chicago. It's like right across, give or take a couple of miles, whatever the mileage is.
Right.
How's the difference for you?
Well, you cannot shovel sunshine. That's what I will say. But the summers here are very intense. We're getting ready to go into our summer months now. It actually started last month. And our summers here last probably going into November. It really doesn't start to break in weather until, yeah, like right around November. So, yeah. So the snowbirds are leaving. That's how you know it's starting to get hot here.
Yes, I don't live too far from you. I'm about 3-4 hours, depending how you drive, and it's 100 degrees today. Warning, weather warning, whatever, and things like that. But that is awesome. Glad you're doing well. Tell us a little bit about my number one question for you, because I know you are a very busy person. How did you find the time to write a book?
Well, we live in 2025 in the wonderful world of AI. So what I did was it was a Sunday. I didn't have any children. I was just kind of resting and I decided, I think I saw something and it was somebody else promoting, oh, you could do this on eBay. And I said, you know what? I need to say something. I really need to talk about what happened to me in my eBay store and things like that. And I was and I've been in a group of young ladies that this also happened to them. We actually all connected because we all answered the same TikTok influencer. And then come to find out, that's all that they were an influencer. They weren't proficient in what it is that they were selling, and that's all it was. They were just selling something. They were making a quick buck. They were not necessarily promoting the correct way to do things. And so I decided with my friend CT, that's what I call my chat GPT. Like, we have a relationship, so she's called CT, and I put all my thoughts down. It was organized. I added to it. I went away, and then I went to there is a designer app. I think it's Sora in ChatGPT. You can go to. I told them what I want the cover to look like. I wanted, it to look like this, and I also kind of wanted the same colors as my store that I used to have on eBay. And so it designed a beautiful cover for me. And then before um, before midnight, I had went ahead. I put up my manuscript. I put my design. I put it on Amazon, and then within 72 hours later, my book was live on Amazon.
So, wow, I mean, that's an amazing thing, because usually when people, at least in my day, the geriatric day, when you're an author, it took time to write a book and do that. And I know we got the technology, and then you got to find a publisher to do it that, or even take the chance. It's almost like getting a record deal back in the day of
Right.
even publishing your thing. And now you've got all these mechanisms that can do that. So, so being an eBay person who had a store there and everything like that, what
Mhm.
made you write a book? Is there something that happened in your experience on eBay that made you write this book? Like you said, in the title, it says that they don't tell you on TikTok. What is it that they
Mhm.
don't tell us on TikTok?
Well, this particular influencer, they were talking about drop shipping. And I mean, everybody knows what drop shipping is. And everybody knows that you can drop ship from Amazon. And yes, you absolutely can, but you cannot do that on eBay. And that was the part that she left out. There's a lot of different rules, regulations, procedures. There's a lot of things that you cannot do on eBay. But again, as I said, I'm not knocking her hustle because she's doing what she do. She's selling. She's trying to make a quick buck. But the problem is that There's so many people out here, especially given the economy. Everybody's looking for a way to make money. Everybody's looking for, especially in our community, if you've been following like yourself, Demetria K, any of the Black influencers on YouTube, not necessarily the mainstream, but you always hear additional streams of income. You always hear about building legacy and things like that. So that was what I thought was a stream of income. And because I did see success. Now that's the thing. I did initially see success. In 45 days, I had did $2,000 in sales. So, but right when I hit that $1,000 mark, I got flagged. And basically, I was in eBay jail. That's what I like to call it. I was arrested, didn't even know, didn't get read my rights. I didn't have any rights. I didn't have an appeal process, anything. So and pretty much my experience. I was like, you know what? I'm sick of seeing influencers get on here. They're promoting things, and like people are legit getting into these things. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people need that additional income, and I don't feel like it's fair that people are promoting this and you're not telling the complete truth, and you're promoting something that goes directly against their policy, and people are getting suspended, and now they are losing that stream of income, and it's permanent. That's the thing. eBay doesn't play. They will suspend you, but they can also shut you down and say, oh, well, you can come buy from us, but you can't sell anymore. And that's basically what happened to me. I didn't know that I was doing anything wrong.
Interesting. So basically, they can shut you out, but it won't shut you out when it comes to the buying part of it.
Correct.
But as far as selling, they don't. They're going to penalize you for selling and stuff. So let me ask you this about the book. So how many pages is this book in general? Top of your head now.
39.
39 pages. Okay, great. So it's not a big read or like that. So with that information, knowing that, how we don't want to give the whole game away. You want people to get the book, right? I better not ask that question. But so based on that experience, you basically felt that if you were getting penalized and flagged, other people were as well.
Absolutely. I've heard people. So to kind of put it in context, when I bought this program, it wasn't even a program. It was just her version of the program. We were put in a community. You know how they create a community. And so once we were put in this community, like I was paying attention, but at the same time, certain things were coming up, like people were getting suspended, people were getting flagged, and unfortunately, I didn't think that would pertain to me, because the person that was over that particular community, they were throwing it back on us. They were basically saying, oh, well, you guys, basically, long story short, you guys are not doing something right, or something like that, something along that line. So I was like, well, I must be doing something right, because I haven't gotten flagged, and this hasn't happened to me until it did, until literally when I hit $1,000 in sales is when I got flagged. And that's the part that they didn't tell you about, on top of not being able to drop shit from Amazon. So it was a lot.
So let me ask you this in regards to this. Is kind of interesting to me, especially if you want to make another revenue stream of income. Okay, so you've got this, and you've given the game in regards to eBay. Now, could you take references in this book and kind of move it over to Amazon as well? But I know Amazon is like, they're very proprietary in how they do things.
They are.
So would that kind of concept actually happen over there as well? Would you speculate that would happen over there?
I would think that it can happen over there, But I'm gonna be honest, I don't see a lot of people promoting drop shipping from Amazon. It is an avenue. It is an avenue that you can go and you can drop ship from Amazon. But of course, as you just said, Amazon, they're pretty strict. They're upfront strict about what is required. Like they you have to go through a whole verification process before they even approve you to drop ship from Amazon. You have to send them a picture. You gotta send them a picture with you holding up the same ID that, so it is a lot more intense to even start on Amazon. Whereas with eBay, to get started on eBay, literally it took me a day to sign up and get started on eBay.
Would you recommend, like I said, we always talk about, we're in this economy today. A lot of people are struggling. They're crushing the rest of the Americans that the have-nots. A lot of people say, well, there's a middle class. There's no middle class anymore. There hasn't been a middle class since 2008. Either
Correct.
You got the money or you don't.
Or you don't.
Would you strongly advocate for people to open up these digital stores, eBay and things like that, to form a second stream of income? I mean, because, okay, a good example. I'm not a businessman, right? I have a lot of friends that have their businesses and stuff, but I'm not a businessman. But I do invest in business. You see what I'm saying? Because I don't want to deal with the paperwork. I don't want to deal with the taxing. I want to be a silent partner. Here's my investment. I'll take my chance, and then you give me whatever profit, that comes out of that. Would you recommend something like this going? Because now we've got the tariffs. Let me ask you this, because you're a businesswoman. What is your overall idea because I remember tariffs come out, oh, the world is going to plunge and it's over. Oh my God, Jesus Christ, what's going to happen? And nothing's happened yet.
Right.
So what's your opinion in regards to this fear mongering? And, and it's really sad because especially in our community, we fear monger the way that we do, which potentially could stop future entrepreneurs.
I agree.
So what's your opinion?
I mean, my perspective on it is, life is good. It's going to happen. I mean, look at the sitting president. Okay. And if you decide, I wouldn't let it stop anything. And that's just me. At the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you and your family. I believe is Honorable Minister Farrakhan that is always promoting do for self-sufficiency. Do what you have to do. You can go into it being knowledgeable, being wise, but don't do it afraid. That's what I would suggest. Yes, the tariffs are happening. Yes, things are more expensive, but things have been expensive.
I got a wild question for you. And
okay.
It's totally wild. It's not what we're talking about, but you saw that these burqa bags and these expensive bags and stuff that you women are buying, and not all women do it, but I'm just saying in general, is made in China. And I've known that for a long time. I grew up in Asia. So we used to get, when the 1984 Air Jordans came out, everybody went to Korea because that's where they were being made at the time. And we got the knockoff brands that unless you're some kind of expert, you can't tell the difference. I mean,
right.
What's that saying? If the items are manufactured in the same exact place, is the one a knockoff? Is it really a knockoff? Just because they slap a thing on Italy on it when it gets to Italy, even though it was manufactured in China, and I have one that just says made in China, but both of these products, other than the label, was manufactured in China. Is it really a knockoff?
Not to me.
And that's what that's what I tell people. It's the same item.
It is, because see, the thing is of course what we've been sold was, oh, it's hand stitched, it's made from the best leather and all of this, which is
Yeah.
what is the reason, or the reason for the $3,500 price tag.
Hmm.
That's what we've been sold. But
Right.
then now the truth has come to light, which a lot of us knew. And honestly, I have some designer bags, but I didn't buy them from. I went to my thrift store.
Right.
I have,
Ross or
I have
TJ
a
Marshall. Hmm.
yeah, and you go to the nice area, and they have, which ones are the ones that are authentic, because they have them locked up in glass,
Hmm.
or they have them behind the counter where you can't just get to them. Like, I
Hmm.
have a couple of bags that way. So some people, oh, I paid $200, $300. Man, I got the same one, and I paid $50 from the thrift
Right.
store,
Right.
and it's authentic.
Right. It's the same exact thing. Michael Pan says, do you recommend creating an alternative website for Black American publishers?
um I don't think that is a bad idea. I think there is a few people
Hmm.
that have already done that, where they promote Black publishing and Black writing.
Hmm.
I think Jason Black has his own website
Yeah.
where he has his own films
Hmm.
on. So I don't think that is a bad thing. Um, but again, it's just a matter of support,
Hmm.
and knowing that it's out there. That's the thing.
Right. Now, dealing with the supply chain that has disrupted a lot of people. I mean, the tariffs disrupt the supply chain and things like that. Um, in your book, does the book, I don't want to give the book away, but I'm just asking some general questions. Stuff like this that is unheard of, that you might not think about ever happening, it has now happened.
Hmm.
So when the supply chain disrupts your situation, plus dealing with what eBay does to penalize you, um, that would discourage a lot of people to even open a digital business. So, what would you say to people to make them be entrepreneurs?
Again, in business, and that's the thing. You gotta. The first thing I would suggest is that if you are currently an employee, you need to shift your mindset from an employee to an employer, as somebody who would employ people, or you are your own CEO. So if we're going to go ahead and be honest about it, if you're in business, and the tariffs, there were talks of tariffs before they actually went into effect. As a CEO, you pivot. You have to. You have to be able to be ahead. Um, Regardless, I have a friend, and she has her own business. It's a brick and mortar, where she is a holistic studio. And when the talks of the tariffs were happening, what she did is she went and she bought in bulk all of the things that she would need for her business before the tariffs went into place. Again, that is a CEO mindset. You don't wait for it to happen. You don't become reactionary. You are proactive. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's your business. Your name is on the line, and you have to keep it moving.
Yeah, see, you got to have a business mindset, and you got to be honest with yourself. Like, whenever I hear Black people talk about, oh, you got to open your own business, you got to open your own business. Not everybody's a businessman.
No, no.
And don't get me wrong. We were talking a little earlier. You got women that are investing in their bodies as a business, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not thinking, hey, gravity, I'm getting older, whatever, and then here they are, 55 years old, my age, still trying to compete with the 24-year-olds, and you know what I mean? You got to have that mindset, and that goes to show you, like I said, women that invest in their own body, men that invest in their own bodies, being bodybuilders or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have strategic thinking. And people say, well, what does that mean, strategic thinking? Strategic thinking means long-term. How is it going to affect you long-term?
I agree. And also not just that, but when we're talking about bodies and things, guess what? How your body is when it's 20 isn't going to be how your body works when it's 30, isn't how your body is going to work when it's 40, isn't, and so on and so on. Because I can say in the time of life that I'm in, I'm trying to, get back fit and all of this. And guess what? It's certain workouts that don't work for me anymore. Like, no matter how much I work out or do these particular things that I did when I was in my 30s, and my body is like, yeah, right, girl, that ain't working. That ain't happening. What we doing? You need to do something else.
Right. And it's funny you bring that up, because as we get older, it's like, when I could get on the floor, but I can't get up like I did when I was younger.
Exactly.
So,
drop it like it's hot and pick it up like it's warm.
But so we can get your book on. I got the link in the thing. It's on Amazon if people are interested in going there and avoiding those pitfalls. And see that, and that's another thing that really bothers me, especially when it comes to young people. They think they know it all. I believe when I was younger, I was kind of in that situation, but we kind of listened to our parents and listened to older people who had more experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit there and say I knew everything.
Oh, no.
Was I willing to try everything? Yes, I was willing to try, but I didn't know everything. You know what I mean? So the younger people that don't know that, so they could go to Amazon and help avoid the pitfalls if they want to go into that direction, to know how to do that. And so I strongly recommend people to do that. But also I want to ask you this. We talked about your African name, and tell us a little bit about your adventures to Africa, and did that have anything to do with you writing the book?
I would say it did. The reason being, like, I first of all, Africa, I love traveling to Africa. Because number one, there's so many different countries. There's so many different cultures. Just even in one country, you can have several different cultures, different languages,
Tribes, right?
different tribes, all just in one country. It would take you probably years just to immerse yourself in all of the different cultures. But most importantly, you see people that look like you. You see people that, they may have a different culture or a different language, but they look like you. Do you know how many people that I saw when I was on the continent that look just like my relatives, look just like my cousins and aunties and uncles?
Yeah, you get on the phone, you call back. I saw your doppelganger over here.
Right. Right. So, and that is amazing in itself. So my most recent trip was to Nigeria. Again, beautiful, beautiful country, beautiful, beautiful people. And I went for the Oshun Festival, which is an experience in its own right. And as a part of being on, it was a tour that I was on. So as a part of that tour, we went to visit the king, or there they call it the Oba of Oruwo. And he gave us all names. And so my name, and mind you, he doesn't know anything about us. He doesn't know, but he looked at me and said, okay, this is your name. And so that's how I got my Nigerian name.
Yeah, when I was in South Africa, Demetria and I, we got our African name there. My name is Manolo. It has a click in it, whatever the deal is, right? Manolo. But I can't do it right, but it has a click in the middle. Michael says, Anita, did your perspective change after living in Nigeria, and how you do business and how you visit, your life, how you look at your life? I mean, was it life-changing being an American? You go over back to our origins where, you're on the continent, did that change your perspective?
I think every time I go to the continent, it sheds a new perspective, a new a new perspective on how things are in America. This particular trip, even though it was a tour, it was definitely more of a spiritual enlightenment for me. Being in Nigeria, of course, like I said, I got to indulge in the culture and things, but this one was more of a spiritual journey. So yes, coming back, it does change my perspective on just on religion, spirituality, just how overall how you choose to show up in life. And I've noticed, like recently, at least on the internet, from what I'm seeing, um, the it's always been there. I will say this: it has always been there, but it's now more present for me. How African spirituality is being demonized, and it's a little disturbing because compared to the way that some religions, and I'm not going to go in or call any specific ones, but the way that they are practiced in the Western world, um, no, I'm just flat out say, is not the intent that it was originally created for. So I will say that. And I find it challenging. It's even a little scary, a little bit, to not embrace those, if you are of African descent, to not embrace that part of yourself. Because that is a part of who you are, it's a part of your lineage, it is a part of who you are, your ancestors. You have ancestors whose shoulders you stand on, and it's troubling. It's very troubling to see how many people are denying that part in themselves, especially those who look like us. They're and it's just like, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be here. So
Correct. American brainwashing goes very, 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 very strong. But since we're on the topic of Africa,
mhm,
recently, as I scroll through the internet, you have these people that have gone to Africa and they are
mhm,
complaining. Like in Ghana, they're complaining that you get there, they invite us to come home, and then they're saying it's basically another African scam. They invite you to come home, and then everything is, you got to pay for this, you got to pay for that, you got to pay for this. And and as a traveler, I get it, and I kind of understand where they're coming from, because think about it, Anita. If you're my daughter and I say, come on home, baby, come on home, why would I charge you for a visa if it's going to be a thing, these things, whatever the deal is? And we know, as a traveling people, there's always the native price and there's always the tourist price, right?
mhm.
So on the internet, they've got these people complaining. They're over there. They're mad because they're getting hustled, or what they think is hustled, or they're getting charged for this, that, and this. Now, and then another big problem is, when you're raised in America and you go to these other countries, you're
Mhm.
expecting everything to be like America, and it's not.
Mhm.
You're going to get bugs in the house, or the house is going to, it's not constructed the way they are in America. So,
Right.
in your travels, in your opinion, because I know you're very pro-African, things like that, what would you tell somebody who goes over there thinking things should be like it is here in America?
Well, I would say that the first thing you should do is go visit. Any place that you so-called you want to go and you want to relocate, go visit. Go see what it's like. Go and visit first. So that way, unfortunately, here in America, especially since some of us who've been disconnected from Africa, and we want and long to be reconnected with our roots, we oftentimes romanticize about what it's like in Africa and things like that, and oh, it's gonna be like another Wakanda, and it's like, No, you should go. You should go visit for the first. You should go and look. And yes, I definitely understand. Some of the levels, some of the level of disappointment if you are going to compare it to America. But guess what? Every country, every continent has its challenges. There are going to be certain things that even if you went to a European country, that's not going to be like America. If you went to Asia, that's not going to be like America. And you have to you have to get used to it. There is an adjustment period. um I think what it is for Africa, yes, there are many people there that would like for us to come. There are many people that would like for us to, be there and assist and support that country, which is completely understandable. However, given the history of Africa, given that it has been pillaged and plundered and all of this for thousands and eons of, they may not have the foundation or they may not have the infrastructure that's needed. Again, you would know that if you go and visit. So I can't say specifically with these individuals that have gone. The first question would ask is, okay, when you went, did you go? Did you visit, or you just packed up your stuff and said, you know what, we're tired of America and we're just going to go? What was your strategy before you left here to go there? And also, did you connect with anybody? Do you have people that you talk to on a regular basis there that you built a relationship with on the ground? There's so many different factors in it. So I understand, like I said, I'm at a point in my life where I don't argue people's perspective. That is what you choose to see. That is what you choose to, believe. And I am here for all of it. However, if you come to me and you ask me, then yeah, I'm going to have some questions and I'm going to ask you, okay, well, did you really do your research, or did you just go off of what you see on the internet? Did you set foot on the soil before you made the decision to uproot yourself and your family and move there? Did you investigate, is this area good for yourself or your family? Like, it's so many different questions that can get asked about that. But I would say do your due diligence. And again, that's kind of how this whole book got started. You're listening to people on TikTok, you're listening to random people on the YouTube, and you just up and did it without any real true knowledge other than what you see on the internet. Now,
Right.
if you did your due diligence and you still went over there, well, you know what? Hey,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
the funny thing is that a lot of the people that are complaining are Black women. They're complaining
Mhm.
going over there, and don't get me wrong. I know, I mean, Demetra and I get into this all the time. Women move off of their emotions, so they don't
Mhm.
like America. I'm gonna go over there, and it's gonna be great, honey pie, and it, and this, and they get over there. And I was watching this one video where this lady, she went over there and she was renting a little villa, and they got to have the security, where she
Of
lives,
course. Of course.
and it rained, and it wasn't like
Oh no.
United States rain.
Oh
It
no,
was
no,
like
no.
a
Oh no.
flooding,
Oh no.
right? And it destroyed, like, the house that she was in. It completely collapsed at the back end.
Mhm.
And then she tries to get to the owner. She can't get a contact of the owner. The owner is just, is aloof or whatever the deal is. And I'm going to say this because I've traveled there several times, and I'm pretty versed in traveling, especially in Africa. Tribalism is a real thing. I don't
Oh,
care how much they adopt you. They're always going to look at you as an outsider and an American that has money. That's my opinion. You might have a little different opinion about it,
mhm.
but you cannot think to go over to another country and think they're going to treat you the exact same way they treat anybody else in their tribe when you are really not really from the tribe. I mean, I'm just sorry. I'm not saying they're going to treat you any less, but what I'm saying is you're going to be that not black sheep, but that one that's like, well, yeah, you're not of the blood.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, you might disagree with me, but I'm just saying.
I think it is a matter of the heart of the place that you go, because I'm not saying that you're incorrect, because there are some places that are like that, I don't disagree with that, but I also feel as though there are some other places that they will adopt you. I do have a good friend, and she's Timony, and she goes back to Sierra Leone every year, and the family she was adopted into, they treat her very well. They look out for her. They treat her like she's one of the family. So really it has to do with their perspective on you. Now, and I've had some experiences where, they see you, they see American and all of the wonderful glitz and glamour that they've been shown. And, they don't see, Ola Jumoke, they see Bank of America, so it just, it's a matter of where your heart is. And to kind of piggyback on the ones that moved over to Africa, one of the things that would help, and I would say this about all Black Americans, you have to shed your Western mindset. You have to. That is the only, because the way that we move and do things, and the expectations and things like that, it's not how they do things over there. They're very community oriented, which is something that, unfortunately, we haven't had in a long time. Um, so you really have to put your patience. That's why I said practice your patience, wear your patience, put your patience on your sleeve, put it in your back pocket, so when you need it, you can pull it out and put it on. But you really absolutely 100% have to get rid of the Western mindset.
I agree with you in regards. If females are a lot easier to adapt, because a lot of you guys intermarry. You could marry African man and you take on that identity or whatever the deal is. I think it's a lot harder for men to do that. Like I said, I'm a man, so let's say I go to this tribe, and I'm not downing Africa. I've been there several times.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm a man, I'm not going to bow down to their traditional type situations unless I'm willing to throw away my whole identity, which would be very, very difficult to do. Again, you see in most of these videos that I've watched, it's mostly the women complaining. There's very
Mm-hmm.
few men, there's very few Black men that are saying, yeah, I'm leaving America and I'm going over there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Very few men, Black men especially, actually say that. It's very few of us. Men make more money than women. We live in a patriarchy, blah, 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 blah. So
Mm-hmm.
very few men really deal with, yeah, we'll go visit, but we're not going to go hang over there or whatever the deal is, unless, we're buying land and we're going to build our own compound and we do our thing. But it's mostly the women. And like you said, that Western mindset of expectations of, oh, there's no bugs here. This is built this, you know what I mean? They have that. What do you mean you're not going to be here? You might be in
Mm-hmm.
a country where the power is only on so many hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like you said, you gotta shed that mindset and say, "Hey, this is my reality here." So
Right.
kind of interesting. And Michael has a question. He says,
Okay.
"Anita, what convinced you to travel to the African continent?"
Well, what it all started with me getting a DNA test from African ancestry, because I think it was, I can't remember, but it was kind of along that time frame where, hi, the Trayvon Martin, the Sandra Bland's, the Mike Browns, that whole that whole time frame. Like I can't even recall when all of that was happening. And so I decided, I was like, okay, I want out. I'm done. I'm tired of America. I can't. I don't want my kids to grow up here like this. So I need to find out where I am. And it was to the point where I was like, I don't care if this thing says that I am a Martian from Mars. I need to have an escape plan. And it just so happened that when I took my African ancestry, it said that I was Sierra Leonean. And it was from there that I went and I got my citizenship in 2021. And so from there, that has always been kind of I don't want to say my escape plan, but it's my escape plan. And I wanted to see other parts of the country, of the continent, not country, but also the passport that I have, I can visit with the exception now of Burkina Faso and Mali and all of them, because they're no longer part of ECOWAS. But on the western side of Africa, I can use that passport. And if I want to go to Senegal, I can go without a visa. If I want to go to Ghana, I can go without a visa. I want to go to Nigeria, which I did without a visa. I can do that.
Quick question on that. I'm sure a lot of the ladies want to know and a lot of the men want to know, but especially the ladies, you being an American woman there, traveling abroad, getting your citizenship there, as a divorced, single American woman, going to this country, how'd you do? I mean, I'm very sure you were targeted to, because, hey.
I mean, yeah. I mean, but I never traveled by myself. I never do. So when I went to Sierra Leone, I did, but I met a lot of great people when I traveled. One of the people, her name, she's an elder and she's such a good friend. Her name is Mama Yomi. And so like now she's my traveling buddy. We went to Panama and then we went to Nigeria together. So and she's currently in Georgia. I met another young lady there. She's from the Americas, but her and her husband built a hotel in Sierra Leone. So I never traveled by myself. Have I been propositioned? Of course I have.
Yeah, let's get to the meat and potatoes, because I'm very sure your average logical thinker, Miss Sweet Talk, wants to know, how is the prospects out there?
I mean, all I can say is when they see you, you're American, so they see you coming a mile away. Game recognized game. It's still game, regardless, don't show your hand, but also don't let them know that, be wise. That's the best thing I can say. Be wise. Some women, they get caught up in, he African and he got this,
Your average logical thinker, you hear that? Stay away from Africa, okay? We don't.
Anyway, I did not say that. I did not say that. But a lot of women get caught up in that. And I'm like, now don't get me wrong, there are some beautiful men there, but like I said, game is game. And I have a good friend, and she at one point was married to an African. And now things are not where it needs to be. And I asked her and I said, so girl, you didn't get citizenship? And she was like, no, I didn't. I said, let me get this straight. So you were married to a whole African man and you helped him get citizenship here, but he did not give you citizenship there. Oh, no, we're not doing that. No. We're not doing that. No. So it's, lack of a better story, I've had a prince approach me too. So it's like I said, it's all game. You can't go in and just, Oh, I mean, and they will, baby. When I say they will turn it on, they will turn on the charm. Yes, they will. They will have you thinking you are the queen of the Nile. They will have you. You are Mother Goddess to the sun. What did he say in Love Jones? I'm the rhythm in
Yeah,
your
yeah. During the speakeasy, he was speaking.
right. All when I
Mhm.
say, baby, that sweet talking is real. Oh, they will do it, and you be like, oh, okay, all
Real
right.
quick,
Don't get caught up.
Reverend Mother T says, "Hello, Anita. I'm so proud of you and your many accomplishments. Congratulations on your success."
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And the reason I bring that up is because, again, in the United States, we have a high rate of single women running around.
Mhm,
Feminism and
absolutely.
stuff. I don't care if you've got kids or not, but a lot of women are out here unmarried and stuff. And some women are tired of the black man's ish, and they want to expand their horizons and get their passports and go over other places. But like I've
Mhm.
said on Dimitri K show, what a lot of these American women do not realize is the patriarchy is strong outside of the
Oh yeah,
United States.
it is
So
absolutely.
what would you recommend to a young lady that's saying, I can't find a man here, I'm thinking about going overseas? What would you recommend?
Well, it's weird because I had this conversation a few. Yeah, they will sell it for their green card. Yeah, they will. um, I will say that shift your perspective. Shift your perspective, because, like I just said, they will turn on the charm. They will, do. And I've talked to some African men that are here from, the continent. They will turn it on, but just know that that could be they could be seeing you as an opportunity. I am not saying that it's like that for all of them. No, absolutely not. Because I've met some men that have wonderful hearts and they are African. But shift your perspective. Why do you see things the way you do? Because in my belief system, what I believe is that what you see and what you think, that's what's going to show up. You can't find a man, guess what? You're not going to find a man because you keep saying that you're not going to find a man. And then also, what are you attracted to? What are you attracting? If you are you want to, what do they call, I hate it, I hate saying high value because it just irks my soul a little bit.
That's
And
subjective. Yeah.
yeah, it's very subjective. Are you working on you? Are you showing up in the best way that you feel like you want to show up? Where are you? Because ultimately the common denominator is you. So yeah, you're right. You're right. There's no good man. You're right. Mm-hmm. Because that's what you keep saying. Because that's what you keep saying, that's what keeps showing up. But I challenge you to change what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe. Mhm.
I'm going to cut you off, but I bring that up because a lot of women, like you said, they don't shed the American mindset and they think they're going to go over there. There was a case in the news that made the AP wire where a woman American woman married an African man,
Mhm.
and he put his hands on her for something, whatever, right? And she goes and runs to the police. And
Mhm.
as she's complaining to the police, the first thing the police told her in reply was, "What did you do?"
Mhm.
So it goes back to, again, changing that American mindset, knowing that the patriarchy is strong out there. I mean,
And it is. I mean, and even here. I mean, not just, let's not even take it someplace else. Even here, if something happens, the first thing they do is turn to the woman and be like, "Well, what did you do?" I've had that happen. You know, even in an incident with me and my ex-husband, they're like, "Oh, well, what did you do?" And I'm like, "Whoa, wait, hold on." I didn't do anything. So it's a matter of, like I said, I feel as though women need to wise up. I feel like um I understand I do. I do. I do understand that things have changed. Um, the value systems have changed. Um, but also, I say, work on yourself. Work on yourself. Be better. How do you, if you want this type of man, then how do you show up? So, for example, you want to be or with a CEO. Do you have the capacity to deal with a CEO? Because the CEO, he's, you guys might be at dinner. He has to take a phone call. You know, he has to be out of town. He's not going to be there on the special days. Can you handle that? Or can you handle someone that, is a blue collar worker? Nothing wrong with a blue collar worker, but you have the capacity for that. Some people, oh, I want to be in a polygamous relationship. You sure about that? You sure? Is that something
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of women don't understand that too. And some of these tribes, they could have multiple wives, and and it doesn't matter how you feel, ladies.
Mhm.
That is their tradition and that's their culture. So
Right.
a lot of people need to think about that. I mean, can you really accept the fact that this man has multiple wives and multiple children? And unfortunately, a lot of people will, like here in America, they will lie about how many children they have or how many times they've been married and all that other stuff. So in your experience there in Africa, and I'm going to swing it right back to your book,
Okay.
if I decided to relocate to Africa,
Mm-hmm.
knowing the information I got from your book,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I should do is what in regards to trying to set up my business over there and then get it on the internet? What's the first thing I need to do?
Well, the first thing you need to do is know the rules. You need to know how it works. So you need to know what the policies, the procedures, and things like that. So, for example, I was looking at opening a school in Nigeria, and the first thing I did was look it up, look up what is required in that country. Also, again, back to your point, what is the infrastructure of that country? Like, are you better being in person, or having a brick and mortar there, or are you better online, or can you do a hybrid? So it's really the purpose of my book is to educate and to overall say, don't go into this thing blindly. Don't go into it based on what you've seen on the internet or based on what somebody say. Actually, the lack of a better word is do the work. Do the work. You know.
Michael Pan says, how about taxes in the African continent for entrepreneurs? Again, Michael, from what I understand, there's two different books when it comes to the money overseas. There's the residents and the citizens, and then there's the tourists and the visitors. You know what I mean? That's why it's kind of crazy here in the United States. We expect to give rights to people who came into the country illegally to begin with. You
That's
can't go
right.
to no other country and talk about, I
Not
demand the same rights as your citizen when I came into the country illegally. It's just
1,000%.
it's ludicrous. It just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
any sense. But the supply chain, see, and if anybody has learned anything, and like I said, I'm not a businessman, but I'm a business investor. That supply chain, this has shown us how important the supply chain is to establish before you even get into the business, to make sure it's going to be fluent, regardless of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why the Koreans control 80% of the beauty market and the hair market, they control the supply chain. That's
Absolutely.
the whole key. The Chinese, right now, people are freaking out right now. I don't know if this is true or not. It's alleged that the wigs are running out because the boats aren't coming, and the
Yeah.
women are freaking out because that the supply chain has been disrupted. This is why we need to manufacture in our own country, because when you are, what's that saying, Anita? When you depend on somebody to feed you, clothe you,
Yeah, you
that
give
same
them the
person can
opportunity
starve
to
you and
serve
unhouse you.
you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then not only that, to speak to the, I guess, the whole wig thing that's going on, support your local businesses, support your local, you know, beauticians, because there are beauticians out there that do just that. Okay, fine. You can't go and get it from a beauty supply store. Okay, but there's somebody locally that does it. One of the people that I go to, or I used to go to, I need to go back and see her. She's in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, her company, if you're in Atlanta, Georgia, you should go and visit Sonsikio Styles. She is the one that does my hair. Every time she hand makes wigs, that means she measures your head, whatever style it is that you want, she will do. She has wigs that are braided. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's always a workaround. If there's not one thing that we, as Black, African American, FBA, however you want to label yourself, is we always make a way. We don't, if one door shuts, then bless God, we're going to find a way to make stuff happen. And that's just the fiber in who we are. So yeah, I get it. Okay, fine. You won't be able to go get your wig from the beauty supply store.
Ultra beauty, whatever it is.
Yeah, invest in yourself and go and support a local beautician that is doing it. And is doing it well, by the way. Now, I'm not saying go pick up no trash, but
Right.
somebody that's doing it well.
Well, can I say this? And to each his own. I know you ladies like to change it up, and you're doing this stuff really for you. As you guys know, most men, we tell you we like you natural. We don't really care for the BBLs. We want you to be natural. We want you to be yourselves. You're beautiful the way you are. And if you ladies would accept that more, it would be a lot cheaper to you. You'd have more money in your pocket. If you would listen to what we're telling you. Most Black men will tell you, we don't like weave. We don't like all that unnecessary stuff. Back in my day, and even to this day, currently, okay, you don't have big breasts. God probably gifted you with a nice bumper. Some women have a nice front bumper and no back bumper, and some of them got both. But at the end of the day, you ladies are beautiful the way you are, and I wish you guys would see that more in yourselves, and rather than trying to get justification from people outside of who don't really care about you or really know anything about you. So
and I think it's just a matter of just the noise, just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying. Like, I know I do it, but I do it for me. I don't do it to impress or anything like that. Now, if it just so happens to look good on me and somebody pays me a compliment, then that's a totally different thing. But is that a part of my identity? Absolutely not. And I think that's part of the noise that is out there, is that these things that are being used, the wigs, the weaves, all of that, is a part of your identity, or is a part of the character that you have. And it's absolutely not, because it's superficial. Like you said, now, are you going to be a jacked up person because you can't go get your 28 piece from the beauty supply store? No. Like, does that mean if MAC, stops making your favorite, or I'm sorry, Fenty starts making your favorite foundation, does that mean that you don't take care of your skin underneath and eat the right things so you can have glowing, popping skin? No, that doesn't mean that. So it's just, I feel as though that it's a matter of, again, it kind of goes back to what you say and what you believe. That's what manifests. If you are a messed up person, then you're going to be messed up with a wig, natural, braids, whatever.
And we see a lot of that. There's a lot of purple, greenish, ghoulish Joker hair 50-something-year-old women out here who still thinks that they are viable in the dating market.
Well, I would say this. When it comes to dating, it really is about being comfortable in yourself. It's about being comfortable in knowing what you want. And it's also being about comfortable in where you are in where you are, what stage you are in life. Now, by no stretch of the imagination, am I sitting here trying to compete with a 20-year-old? Absolutely not. I'm no, no. But if I'm able to, I will impart some wisdom if she'll listen. I could impart some wisdoms like, hey girl, you ain't gotta do all that, or hey girl, you may not want to wear all that makeup right now. You're gonna look like, who did it in what fall when you hit 50 or 60.
Well, the
But
funny thing is, all these girls they all look the same. I think they all have the similar features, the similar butt, the similar breasts, the similar they all look the same. But speaking
what
about
advice that 50 plus is something is still viable for a relationship. I
no,
agree.
yeah, no, we're not saying they aren't, but the fact of the matter is, you're not in the same category as a 20-year-old, same category as a 30-year-old,
Right.
whatever it is. You ask most real men, we're not talking about the moist men, we're talking about real men. We value legacy, and when we see an older woman, like, and I'm just going to use myself as an example, I am traumatized by women in my age group because they say they want a good man. They say they want a man to provide. They say they want these things. I'm just talking my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a man that can do all that. And yet I'm going through a separation right now because she couldn't do what I do. She wants to compete with me and she's not getting her way in how she does it. I'm just putting that out there as a thing. But also back to the book, the supply chain management opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the supply chain has been disrupted. Miss Howard, what I would do, like I said, I'm not a businessman. Right now, China is asking us to go directly to the manufacturer.
Sure is.
And cut out the middleman.
Sure
So
is.
if you're an entrepreneur right now, you need to be thinking outside of the box and say, hey, I don't need the distributor. I'll get rid of him. I can go to this website and go to the manufacturer directly and get the money.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
Yeah.
I was sitting here pricing tickets to China a couple of days ago.
You get ready to go.
I want to go. Because why not? Like, seriously, why not? Because that's what we should learn throughout this whole thing. Like, it's always a learning moment. Seriously, we've been lied to. Okay, so now go and do what you need to do to, protect yourself, to go and sustain your business. They literally are saying, hey, yeah, this bag is really $50.
The veil has been lifted. Yeah, the veil has been lifted. We can see the genie behind it.
Exactly. Water of Life said, no telling what the orange man is going to do. Yeah.
But Water of Life, think about this. Whatever he's going to do, has it really affected Black people? No, because we ain't got nothing.
No.
We ain't got nothing.
We're still doing what we always been doing. We're learning how to do boots on the ground. We're still being Black, and we're still being beautiful, and we're still doing what we gotta do. Again,
but see how they put the boogeyman out there, the orange man, the orange. I don't give a damn about Donald Trump. He don't give a damn about me.
Therefore, what? Like, the reality of the fact, it's this kind of, I don't want to say it's awakening, but the only people that's really shook is those who thought they were exempt from what's happening. Like, those of us who, I'm not even going to say people of color, because some of them are shook too, but Black people, we always knew we were the target. We always knew what it is and what it's not. It's only those who thought that they were exempt from it, and those who had that whole nearness to whiteness complex that's going on, that is really shook, like, oh my God, I didn't know that this applied to me.
Yeah. Have you guys noticed that the boule in the black community, the only people that are screaming is the black boule? These are the ones that are Howard graduates or whatever, and the lawyers and stuff like that. These are the ones that have the most to lose because they thought they were white adjacent. So again, for the majority of us, our life is still going on. Like I said, I'm still seeing people going on cruises. You guys saw that massive fight on that cruise ship, whatever. People are still going to the restaurants and they're still twerking at the whatever. And, you know,
Yeah, people are still living their lives. You just, in this season, it's all about pivoting. It's all about being proactive, not reactive. Now, are you in certain situations, are you probably going to be reactive? Yeah, in certain situations. But if you see what's happening, if you can follow the thread and the breadcrumbs, if you can go back and look at different things that's happening. Oboro, obuye, oboshishe. That's how I want to.
okay. Yeah, and water of life. No, we get what you're doing. I'm kind of glad you brought up the Trump man, because that is a big problem in our community, that they keep throwing this boogeyman out here. And we're not saying you're doing that, but we're saying is that's what they do to keep us distracted and in fear. I mean, come on, those days of the black man being afraid, we've been here for 400 and something years. We ain't got nothing to be afraid anymore. I mean, tell me what other group could go through what we've gone through in the 400 something years and still be here.
I think what it is that we've always, like I said, we've always known that we are the target. But even in that, even though those who are not blessed to be melanin and those who are white adjacent, I think it's still appropriate for us to still be wise in our movements. Yeah, we're doing boots on the ground. No, we're not going out there and protesting, because we know what happens when we go out and protest. You know what I mean? Perfect example, I think I saw it on TikTok, again, scrolling through TikTok. It was someone that was not melanated saying that they went out when they were, I think it was supposed to be the big rally about, it was supposed to be not worldwide but nationwide, and how there wasn't a police presence, how they were just sitting out there talking about their timeshares and talking about their trips and talking about, and there was no threat. So that says a lot without saying it. You know what I mean? So I still think we should be wise. I still think that I still agree that there needs to be an exit strategy for us. I think that if you are going to continue to be here, again, be wise in your movements and be as self-sufficient as possible. But, at the end of the day, we're still where we are. We're still fabulous. People are still trying to be like us. I really think, and again, that kind of goes back and ties back into Africa. It is a sense of knowing who you are and going back to remembering who you were before they told you who you was.
Super powerful. Well, you guys heard it right here. Get the book before you open that eBay store. What TikTok doesn't tell you. Very important if you're going to be an entrepreneur. And I think now is a great time to be an entrepreneur, because the supply chain has been disrupted and China is like falling apart over there because they've invested so much in manufacturing and now it's been disrupted. Another thing, Donald Trump, was, I think, right about, because we weren't getting a fair deal in the trade. They could bring their goods over here, but we can't sell it over there. Almost 1 billion people, and their markets are closed to us. Come on, I got to do something about it. You know, so again, last follow-up question, Miss Anita.
Okay.
Is there going to be a follow-up book, or are you going to go into the sci-fi genre, or maybe you might write a book into the love language, you know, Steve Harvey?
No, not you didn't go there with Steve Harvey, did you? My goodness. Well, I'm definitely not going into that genre.
Okay.
Because I am not a relationship expert. But potentially, would there be another book around selling online e-commerce, maybe around eBay? I have contemplated it because I started really digging into their policies, and there is a lot of things in there that I'm sure a lot of people don't know. But I am planning on releasing another book about my journey with my daughter, and her our journey with autism. So
yes, as a matter of fact, let me bring this up. You were on a podcast recently talking about your journey with your daughter and her autism situation. What was the name of the podcast, by the way, because people want
to? It is Autism for Badass Moms podcast.
I will put that in the chat as well. But, you know, thank you again for coming on the show. For you guys that don't know, Anita and I have been friends for a lot of years. She does a lot of stuff on the sneak because she's a very private person. So, like I said, sometimes I'll see her in Phoenix one day, you know, online, and next thing you know, she's in Africa, or she's in Panama, or she's in line about to go somewhere through customs and heading out, you know. So, again, Anita, please, you know, come back and check back with us and keep us updated of what you're doing. I always encourage you to start your own conversations. You have these conversations so people could learn and educate themselves, especially since you do have citizenship. And there's still a lot of people that want to go over there and get citizenship, and they don't know how, and then they don't know what it's like to be in the country, especially as a female going over to those countries. So again, Anita, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's always been a pleasure, as of course, always. Yeah, I would love to come back anytime.
Absolutely. And you guys don't forget to join us tomorrow. Demetra K, watch me eat her lunch tomorrow. Demetra K show. 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central Time. As you guys know, I taught Demetra everything she knows. So when you guys see her there, and by the way, Columbus, Ohio, the Black Expo, 24th of May, you can still get your tickets. If you're going to be in the area, you can see Demetra K, Brother Phil Scott, and the whole African Diaspora News Channel crew there. And, you know, for you fellas, you could actually go and see what is behind the booty on Demetra K if you're interested in that.
It's not right. That is not right. Yeah, you just put her out there like that. Put her out there.
Live. My whole point is she's going to be live. So if you want to see her live, that's where you guys can see it. She's going to be answering a lot of questions there and doing all of that. But tomorrow I will be eating her lunch, as I usually do when it comes to these conversations that we have. We have great conversations. Join us, Demetra K Show, tomorrow. Well, that does it for us, Anita. So we will see you guys mañana. Learn your Spanish, because that is going to be the dominant language. It already is, technically. But your kids need to learn Spanish if they want to get Mandarin, too. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you guys later. Peace.
Bye.